Hey everyone, welcome to r/talesfromtechsupport, where we get to have a little chuckle at the technologically disadvantaged, like me. I'm Uncle Reddit, and have I got a story for you. MisFunctioning Mouse. Context. I work at the IT department of a high school, and thus there are many levels of competence among the people we help. This older teacher has had problems with an ergonomic mouse multiple times. OT equals older teacher, OP, oh so beautiful me. It all starts when OT comes into our help desk and slams the mouse onto my desk and starts complaining. Hey OP, this POS isn't working and always stops working. And the replacement mouse just isn't sufficient, because it's not ergonomically friendly enough. They're specialized mice, so we have to order them as per need. She continues. So now I have to ask my boss again to order a new one, as this one's broken and always keeps breaking. You've tried to fix it like 7 times now and it's never good enough. This is not okay. So I take in the mouse and the wireless USB that comes with it, go over to the computer, and sure enough it isn't working. So I check if it's turned on. It is turned on. Then I take the charging cable and plug it into the mouse, and as I do the thing lights up. I keep using it for a few hours and it works flawlessly. I decide to keep it in storage for the next time her mouse breaks. Okay, so I'm kind of making some inferences here. Maybe the old person wasn't charging the mouse? Is that what we're getting at here? I mean, did they know it was rechargeable? I know they knew, they had a cord and everything, but did they actually know? Like, was it run down for them and taught? Replaced everything but the user. A recent tale of the annoyingly absurd and profoundly daft. An off-site user with a lockout issue. Round 1. User calls about being locked multiple times a day. Help desk unlocks account. Wiped saved domain credentials. Round 2. User still getting locked out multiple times a day. +1 irate stat. Help desk wipes local user profile. Round 3. User still getting locked out multiple times a day. +3 fury stat. Help desk sends replacement computer and keyboard. Round 4. User still getting locked out multiple times a day. +5 annoyed, +10 rage. Help desk is at the location for the day. Confronts user. +10 luck. User is waking up PC from sleep by repeatedly tapping the enter key as fast as they can until the login screen appears. Hitting the max bad password attempts in the process. Oh my god. I can just picture that user hitting the keyboard like whack-a-mole. It's like my wife at an elevator. I love my wife, but she doesn't understand that pressing the button faster doesn't make the elevator come faster. Like, it's not like pedaling a bike. The more you pedal, the faster it goes. But there she is, just going tap, 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 tap. Oh, this is why people drink. If calling a company support line, at least try what they say. I used to work in support for a company that makes mobile device management software. While you can use their product in the cloud, some organizations choose to host it locally. This requires a few things in place, one being MySQL and setting up a database. I had a guy call in trying to get a testing environment set up. Cool, I've done this before, a ton of times. It won't be an issue. We get to the point where you have to launch MySQL, which is to enter a command in command prompt for it to load. The guy on the phone straight out refused to enter the command because it didn't look like something that would launch MySQL. So we're stuck, me trying to explain that yes, this would work, and him going back and forth with me why it wouldn't. After the 10th time asking him to do it, my voice getting more and more frustrated at his stupidity, he finally ran the command and it launched MySQL. His words were, "Oh, it does work." I immediately hung up the phone. Just give it a shot. What was it going to hurt? You wasted 20 minutes probably of arguing, and you could have just, even if it didn't work, you only wasted 10 seconds of your life. Okay. People are just insane. The kids are alright. So this just happened to me like an hour ago, and while I normally only use this account to promote my content creation stuff, this story was just too good to pass up. Some background. While I don't actually work in IT, my job has become IT adjacent as of late, due to COVID circumstances. I currently work in a classroom providing childcare to elementary-aged children. While this was normally a before and after school gig, it has since become a place kids go in order to log into their remote learning classes if their parents aren't able to stay home with them. This means that a big portion of my job now involves troubleshooting issues on their school-provided Chromebooks. Not exactly what I signed up for, but I'm a problem solver by nature and pretty comfortable with technology, and I actually kind of enjoy when things go south and I have to figure out why. Anyway, today's story involves none of that. Occasionally I have a walk around the room to make sure everyone's in their classes and not having issues, etc. It's a way for me to keep track of what's going on and track issues before they happen. So I see a 4th grader who I know isn't supposed to be in class yet. I ask what she's up to. Her. Talking to my cousin. Me. How? Knowing the school-provided Chromebooks have all chat and social media sites blocked. Her. Google Docs. You guys, these kids are opening shared docs with their friends and live editing to chat. Kids are so darn smart. I love it. Needless to say, I didn't stop her. She effing earned it. Yeah, I get it. And you know what? I probably wouldn't have stopped her on that either. The Google Docs thing is no big deal. As long as they're not sharing inappropriate stuff through the docs, they're going to find a workaround. And that's probably mild compared to what some of the other kids can do. And trust me, there are other workarounds even after they've locked down all social media. Slightly slighted coworker. Humorous. So I'm 2nd generation in field service and tech support. This story is about the only one that overlaps my experiences with my dad's. Dad equals my dad, obviously. CW, dad's coworker, eventually a lifelong friend of his. DK equals dumb kid. Me in this context. When I was young, more than a while ago, and dumb and still in college, Dad worked at a nerve center for a particular type of very popular communications, VPC. He and his colleagues, including CW, maintained the fiber optic networks and monitored the infrastructure of said VPC provider. Now, Dad doesn't particularly go out of his way to meet people, but is extremely pleasant and strives for competence in most everything he does, which gets him a positive reputation with repeat customers. Over time, some customers would call in and ask for Dad when CW or others would answer. This got a little annoying to the rest of them as they all had the same experience and were all generally quite competent. Stage set. DK calls into the call center late one night and CW answers. Thank you for calling VPC. Official office name. This is CW. How can I assist you? DK. Can I speak to Dad? CW. Dad's on another call at the moment. I'm sure I can assist you if you allow it. DK. CW, I'm sure you would do a good job, but I kind of need to talk with Dad. CW. It wouldn't be a problem. I have access to your files and system monitoring. DK, realizing what's going on. I don't think so in this case. I'd like to talk to Dad because he's my dad, and while you're very nice, I think asking someone new for fatherly advice might not be the best idea. CW. Oh, you must be DK. Dad is probably going to be a bit. Can I have him call you back? Some chuckling going on. DK. That would be great. Thanks, CW. And that would be the tale of me and Dad discovering CW was feeling a little slighted. Yeah, I get it. There's, part of it's just a personality thing. Some people, even though everybody might have the same credentials, the same competence, and maybe they're all pleasant to deal with, there's just certain things about certain people that make people gravitate towards them, even if they've only met them on the phone for, getting tech help. They all just assume, hey, that's the guy to go to. I can see where that would be a little frustrating. Make you question yourself. Where are my scans? Gnome support desk reporting in once again. Customer rang in today with a scanner issue. He had been scanning fine earlier in the day from his home setup, but was now not receiving scans from the work setup. Now I explained to him that the work scanner emailed them to him as compared to scanning directly to his PC. Customer got this concept and said they had not arrived in his emails, and he had scanned them several hours ago. Being a diligent gnome, I saw the opportunity to bump this job off to the printer people as I hate the bloody things. Customer calls back a bit later after the printer peon had checked the settings and they all looked okay. Log onto the customer's machine and check his emails. He had changed his emails from show latest to show oldest. Scans were at the bottom of the list. Changed the order and the customer's back to being a happy chappy. Well, OP, good for you for figuring that out. Side note, I'm not sure I'd be calling the printer people peons. Everybody's got their role to play, you know what I mean? The last shoot down of Lieutenant Colonel Insect. Backstory. I worked IT in the Army. At this point in my career, I had progressed from mainframes to tactical computer systems. To Have no idea. CSS AMO, Combat System Support Automation Officer. 2 desktops, 2 servers, email servers, domain controllers, and into installing and configuring network switches and routers. My career in the Army was coming to a close. I had spent the last 3 to 4 months training newly mined computer techs with skills not taught at course, hopefully to make them better techs. I had signed in my keys and had my replacement sign the keys back out. He was bug-eyed to the amount of keys and responsibility he was getting. The Army's policies on computers and networking were getting ridiculous, so I had 2 computers on my desk. One for official military work computer, and one personal laptop for pulling miracles out of my butt because the new security guy was a butthole drone. I had done his job when it was put on to me as an additional duty. The personal laptop never connected to the network because its purpose was for things like drive recovery. I had personally purchased a couple of expensive drive forensics programs, and performing impossible tasks, like converting a recorded deposition of sensitive nature from one codec to MP3. A lot of these tasks could not be completed on the Army system because of regulations against loading non-DoD software on DoD systems. Like I said, getting ridiculous. Hence the non-DoD laptop. Onward. I was a day away from terminal leave and the start of my retired military life. This happened on a Thursday afternoon around 1400 hours. I was in my office cleaning stuff out, figuring out what were keepsakes and what needed to be tossed. Then Lieutenant Colonel Insect walks in. Lieutenant Colonel Insect. Sergeant, I need you to recover the data off this hard drive for me. Me. Why are you bringing me this now? Tomorrow is pretty much my last day. Lieutenant Colonel Insect. I brought it to your boss and he said he'd get his best man on the job. He couldn't figure it out and gave it back to me. Me. When did you give the drive to boss and his best man? Lieutenant Colonel Insect. 2 months ago. Me. And you're just bringing it to me now? Lieutenant Colonel Insect. There's a bunch of important information on this, and I need it recovered, and I know you can extract it. After playing 20 questions, I find out it's his personal external hard drive with his pictures from Afghanistan on it. He was using his position of rank for something that was personal and hoping to get a freebie out of it by playing it off as official business. Me. Sir, this will require 12 to 18 hours of scan time to see if there's anything recoverable from the drive, along with 4 to 6 hours of time to copy your recovered data to a new external hard drive. Do you have a fresh external hard drive to dump your data onto? Lieutenant Colonel Insect. Another drive? Won't you provide one? Me. No, this is personal data on a personal external drive. You want the data? You provide a fresh drive. Actually, I don't have time for this. Tomorrow's my last day. It'll be a very short day. I'm afraid you'll have to take it to a professional drive recovery company to get your data back. I can give you a list of places in town that could facilitate this. Lieutenant Colonel Insect. What? You're not going to do this for me? Me. No, sir. If you had brought this to me 2 weeks ago and agreed to buy 6 pieces for the office, I would have had the luxury of time to complete this. Lieutenant Colonel Insect. 6 pizzas? Anytime someone brought personal equipment in for me to work on, it was either $100 cash from my retirement party fund or 6 pizzas for my guys at the office. The work was done at home, so there was no improper use of government time. Me. That's the going rate for off-hours work on personal equipment. Lieutenant Colonel Insect. I'm giving you a direct order. Me. To work on your personal equipment? No, sir. You have a great day and good luck finding a company that will recover your data cheaper than 6 pizzas. At the time, it was $1,700 just to look at the drive with no promise of recovering anything. Lieutenant Colonel Insect leaves the office empty-handed. Friday. I had prior approval to show up in a suit and tie, made my rounds to say goodbye to those I cared about, sent out my last official global email of my retiring and thanking those I knew through my career. Boss crap green Twinkies at first, thinking I sent out a flame mail until he read it and thought it was great. Threw a couple boxes of I love me stuff and my laptop in the truck, went to lunch with the office and went home. Yeah, I love it how everybody wants favors and they want everything last minute and think they can take advantage of you. And then there's the guys, and this guy happened to be both, who think that if they can't get the favor, they can just bully you or order you to do it. Good for you for sticking to your guns. And happy retirement. Do not rely on someone saying they have done something simple. Disclaimer. I'm not technically tech support. I just happen to be the least tech illiterate at my office, and I build and maintain the Excel spreadsheets we use to operate. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Context. I work in finance. I built the main spreadsheet that we use to interact with the Bloomberg terminal, and that runs all of our pricing. Every day we run the closes and save it with any update so that we get the correct change on day the next day. Senior revenue generator equals SRG, works in a different country. Spready equals the main spreadsheet we use to operate. SRG was angry that his spready wasn't updating each day with the closes. He said repeatedly that he's done all the usual debugging stuff multiple times and done so recently, within the last week. Closed and reopened the spready, closed and reopened all of Excel, rebooted his PC, run the Bloomberg diagnostic tool, everything. I've been trying to think of other stuff it could be and coming up blank, so I've been trying to remote log into his PC for a while, but there's never a good time apparently. This leads us to today when I finally managed to remote into his PC early. A whole bunch of stuff is open, including the spready. Q investigation. Open Task Manager to discover he hasn't rebooted his PC in nearly 3 weeks. So I close out his Excel, wait about 10 seconds, and reopen the spready. Ta-da! It's up to date. I think I must have gone insane, so I run basic stress tests by making changes at my end, on my PC and spready version, seeing if they update his. Everything's working perfectly, and the changes flow through when I reopen his sheet. So either he never did the debugging stuff we asked him to, or I'm actually a wizard and my powers can stretch at least across an ocean, given that he hadn't rebooted in 3 weeks. Unfortunately, the latter is the most likely option. However, I am hopeful that I do in fact have magical powers. Oh, good luck with that, OP. I'm still waiting for my magical powers to develop. Printing issues. I'm an architect, but I have a story. Let me back up. The principal at my firm was a gross, old guy who loved beautiful blonde women. Not surprisingly, he hired a beautiful blonde ex-model as his personal assistant. While the rest of us, including the other 2 senior partners, all worked in a room with an open floor plan on the first floor, she had her own office upstairs. She was sweet and a nice person. I actually liked her very much. However, it was clear she was hired by our gross boss solely because of her looks. Sometimes she would call me in a panic asking for tech help. One of those times she said she needed to print an email for our boss but was having trouble. As an architect, printing on the large-scale plotter is always an issue, so I felt her printing issue pain. Well, I ran upstairs and printed the email for her. I didn't have to do anything special, but sometimes computers act up. No big deal. Happy to help a fellow female coworker. Anyways, a couple hours later, I come back upstairs to retrieve a floor plan I had printed from the plotter, and wouldn't you know it, a 36 by 48 inch enlarged version of the email with only one sentence was hanging in the plotter. After a quiet chuckle to myself, I disposed of it so she wouldn't get in trouble, but it could have passed as modern art. Listen, I'm not saying pretty people can't be smart, but sometimes I wonder. The power user. I had been working 3 weeks as an on-site help desk engineer. It was a good gig, 10 minutes from home, and the company gave me a car. The usual mixed bag of user problems until I came across Pete, the power user. Not his real name. Hi, help desk, I have a problem with my spreadsheet. Okay, Pete, I'll come over in a few minutes and take a look. So I turned up expecting the usual, it's not printing, but it's Pete, the power user. My macro isn't working anymore, says Pete, the power user. What's a macro? I replied. Well, Pete goes into what a macro is and details of how it was working, and eventually it stopped working. As a self-taught IT guy, I had no idea what a macro was until now. Off I go back to my room, and it's time to break out the manual. Chapter 11, How to Create a Macro, etc. I didn't really hold out much hope, but I gave Pete the power user a call and went and visited him again. Pete, here's my macro and the code behind it with key mapping. I don't create macros using that method, but let's give it a try. He copied his code into my macro and boom, it worked. Even power users need a helping hand. Sometimes it just needs someone to approach the problem from a different angle. RTFM, kids! Phone-operated electric shock collar. So my grandpa used to work at a phone company, and he told me this story in great detail the other day. It was just another day when my grandpa got a strange call from a customer. It went a little something like this. Customer, I have an issue with my phone. Grandpa, okay, what's the problem? Customer, well, you see, whenever I get a call, my dog goes nuts, barking and howling. Grandpa, so what's the problem with the phone? Customer, that is the problem. I need you to fix it. Grandpa sighs. Okay, I'll put down a request for a service call and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Customer, great, thanks. Fast forward a couple of days and my grandpa arrives at this woman's house. My grandpa goes in and determines that the phone isn't ringing extraordinarily loud, and then asks to see the phone box. The customer takes him out to the backyard and proceeds to show him the phone box. My grandpa noticed that the dog was chained to the phone box. For those who aren't familiar with old phone systems, this contained the wiring and phone cable and was above ground for easy maintenance. He goes ahead and opens it up and sees very clearly that there's a short in the wire. The wire also happened to be touching the metal phone box, which was connected to the metal chain, keeping the dog in the backyard. So in essence, whenever this woman placed or received a call, the dog was getting electrocuted. My grandpa fixed the short and the dog never barked when the phone rang again. Yeah, I didn't think there was enough amperage or voltage or whatever in those phone lines to do that kind of damage. I mean, it may have bugged him and scared him, but I don't think it was actually electrocuting the dog. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you've enjoyed this content, would you consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, and maybe clicking that little bell icon so you don't miss the fat guy with the beard telling you stories. See ya!